Hi guys, back again. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about why it's easier to want to blame somebody else than it is to actually take responsibility. And I realized talking all about this, it kind of connects about subtle forms of abuse. It all connects because, and I think it starts very young. You know, you've been conditioned to be a good little boy or girl, yeah? So say yes when you mean no, do as you're told, don't misbehave, be kind, be good. And so we have this idealized self that we need to create to survive. But then that gets reinforced, you know, and that is the problem, that we're still in that space, because what we do is we tend to idealize ourselves and we idealize others. And when they don't come up to our ideal, we tend to demonize. So, and this is the black and white thinking that I think that is created. It's good or bad or right or wrong. And so, you know, I'm being nice and you're not. You're bad and I'm good. And then we judge that and deem this person wrong, but actually we're all good, bad and ugly. We've all got those positive traits and negative traits. And I realized that I was perpetuating what I'd been taught growing up. People will only love you if you're a good girl. People will only be there for you if you are a good girl and do what they want you to do. And the trouble with that is it doesn't work as you go into adulthood. And as you mature and you realize that's something you were taught, that you've carried on into adulthood, and it's still playing the game, it's still playing out of you. And so you're left like a child, vulnerable, because you have this idealized self, this identity about who you are. Well, I'm a nice person. And I think that's where a lot of us go wrong, because we cannot confront our own negativity, our own negative traits, our own evil, so to speak. You know, the evil runs through every heart. So yes, I have the capacity to be loving and kind, but I also have the capacity to be mean and controlling and nasty and jealous. And, you know, I mean, for me, I know my good, bad and ugly. Yeah, I can be kind, but anything can be taken too far. Kindness can be taken too far. Every good trait is not always good. It doesn't always work. So my kindness taken too far would make me perhaps be passive, weak. People would be allowed to walk all over me. Just as if my stubbornness, you know, there's not all bad. Sometimes being stubborn is about being tenacious, determined, you know. So I've just seen a mosquito flying around. Hopefully it doesn't land on me. Anyway, so yes, I've got all these traits. I can be ignorant, I can be arrogant, I can be stubborn. Now, they were traits that I think were much more part of me when I was younger, because I didn't own them. I repressed, denied and avoided them. So, you know, because I just had to be a good girl. So I had to be kind, I had to be friendly, I had to do as I was told, I had to meet other people's needs, I had to put other people first. Otherwise, you know, you're called selfish or whatever. And so I realized that I am all of that. I am good, bad and ugly. And I had to know my own good, bad and ugly. And this is why, if you want to stop being emotionally, subtly abused by anyone, then you have to know thyself. You have to know yourself, because if you know you, then you can know another. And so this is about understanding ourselves. So the journey is always our own journey, because people come in, we can't control the people around us. God, wouldn't that be great if we could? You know, we cannot control anything outside of us, really. We can come back to us. And this is the one thing we can control. We manage this, and we can control this to a certain degree, because if I can control this, I can probably, you know, control some of this. Because if I don't let myself go down that cycle of negativity or whatever it is, victim mentality of, oh, no one loves me, no one's here for me, then I'm not going to cause a lot of my own suffering. So you control this, and but you manage this because feelings are part of being human, and you take care of the body. And so I suppose I want to encourage people to look at themselves clearly. What are your good, wonderful qualities? And taken too far, how do they not always work for you? So any good quality can be taken too far. So maybe I think my deep authenticity is a positive quality, but actually taken too far can look like what? What might my deep authenticity look like to somebody else? What might it feel like for the other person? It could be quite intimidating, it could be quite frightening if that person's never been able to be intimate. And I do think if you've grown up in an environment where you were quite fearful or scared or had to be a good little boy or girl, then you probably do struggle with intimacy with another and with yourself. That's why you don't know another. That's why you can't spot the subtle emotional abuse. I actually think it's easy to not spot the subtle emotional abuse if you don't know yourself, because you don't know yourself. You don't know what you need, what you want, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, because it's always about everybody else. It's always been about everybody else. It had to be for you to survive. And so this is a call to take a step back and come back to you and learn about you. Now, I don't know why a lot of people struggle with that. Maybe it's too frightening, too challenging. I have my theory, because I think the two things, and this isn't my theory, this is obviously something I've heard or read, is change and taking responsibility. Now, having worked in the field for many, many years, I can definitely say yes. I think as much as whatever you're doing, say you're an addict or addicted to alcohol, as much as it's not working for you, that the change process is terrifying for a lot of people. It's like, better the devil you know, because you're stepping into unknown. Well, who will I be without it? How will I cope without it? Sorry, there is a bit of noise going on, but hopefully you can hear me, and we'll just push on because it starts and stops. So who am I without this addiction? Who am I without this? Who am I without whatever it is? If I'm not a people pleaser, then who am I going to be? And I think that's the scary part for people. Well, I know this part of me. I'm the people pleaser, and we love our comfort zones, don't we? And I'm comfortable. But if I stop pleasing everybody, then who am I going to be? And I was just thinking about the one thing that I always ask clients: what's your fear, worry, concern about coming in for therapy? And I think the answer I get the most is, am I going to like what I find? Which I think is an interesting question, but it tells me a lot. It tells me that there's a fear that actually if I do some work, I might be scared of what the outcome of that is. And so there you go. It's the fear of change, isn't it? It's the fear of doing something different, being different in the world, because we've created these patterns, and we love patterns. We love the whole, we get into a groove, and trying to get out that groove is sometimes really difficult. And you talk to anyone who's had any really rigid addiction that's running the show, that's as much as you want that. And we talk about the conscious mind wanting that, but there's this subconscious bigger part of you going, "Ooh, it's not safe, because how are we going to cope?" And this is why I think a lot of people go to these places like AA, NA, and you just stop drinking. And I actually don't think that's always helpful. I'm not saying it's not. Yes, stop drinking, but if you haven't developed skills to cope, you're actually going to struggle. So when somebody comes to me, and a lot of addiction is a tricky one, because if someone is sort of quite heavily addicted, it's a struggle for them to keep their appointments, and so I love AA, don't get me wrong, but take away your coping mechanism and you're very vulnerable. It's like you're like a baby out in the world, and so for me, I always like to do the healing stuff. It's like, I'm not going to tell anyone to stop doing anything, because I'm not their keeper, I'm not their parent, and to be fair, it's up to them what they want to do. They want to smoke, they want to drink, they want to spend all their money. That's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to trust that you're going to make the good, right decisions for yourself. I'm going to trust you. Even though you might not trust yourself, and that's okay, I'm going to trust you anyway, because I know the power of people. I know the power of, moving in a direction of what you desire. I know for me, I was a smoker when I was younger, at 17 to 23, and I wanted to give up for a year. And I was working and living in a pub, so it wasn't easy because everyone was able to smoke in the pub. And we were about to move into our first house, and I remember thinking for that whole year, I want to not smoke. I want to not smoke. And I looked at someone who in my family that didn't smoke, and I kept looking at them going, well, they can be okay. They can come out and not need cigarettes. I want to be like that. I don't want to be a slave, because I was a slave to this addiction and I hated it, but I felt like at the mercy of it and it felt bigger than me. But I kept looking at her and just imagining, well, she's not a slave and I'm a slave, and I did that for a year, and then we moved out the pub and I moved into my own house and I gave up just like that. I just cold turkey gave up, and I never went back because I refused to smoke in this house. But I realized it wasn't because I had any great willpower. I realized I'd set myself up. I'd been setting myself up every day for a year about what I actually wanted. Not what I didn't want, what I wanted, what I desired. My desire was to be free from this enslavement, because that's what I saw it as. It was running the show, not me. And so I realized that sometimes we just have to really hone in on our desire before we actually take any action, because that's why I think that seems to be a bit more. It was the easiest thing in the world for me to give up smoking, and so after that experience I realized, let's fan the flame of what you desire, what you want. How do you want to see yourself before you actually do anything? I think the doing has to sit over there for a bit. Just keep doing it. It's like wanting to, I don't know if you're a bit of a craver for sweet stuff, and I think why would you not experiment? What is it you desire? Fan the flame of what you want and desire. I think for me, desire holds a lighter energy than want. Sometimes the want can feel a bit angsty. I really want this and I haven't got it. Whereas my deep desire is a much more. So play with the words. You've got to play with the words that work for you. Be connected to that word. How does it feel when you say, I desire to be free from whatever it is? I desire to be much more assertive. My desire is to know myself more intimately. My desire. So play around with it. And when you say want, does it feel the same? And I know when I say it, as soon as I say it, the want feels slightly heavier. It's a word that kind of brings a bit more weight to it. Whereas I desire things, even the way I say it, it's like I desire something. It's like, ooh, I desire something. One of the cries of my heart, I usually have one theme a year, and freedom has been a big one. I desire to be free. And I don't always know what that looks like. What does free look like? Sometimes I just go, I want to be free. For me, we do quite a bit of traveling. We've got a little camper van, and we love just going out on the road, and we've had some big trips. We've been around Australia, we've been up the middle, we've been down the west coast, down the east coast. And for me, I love that. It's the sense of freedom, the open road, wheels, my home on the back. I've got food that I like to eat in the fridge. I hate being, I've got a toilet. I hate being, I need to, find somewhere to eat. And I hate being at the mercy of that. So I like to take my own food. I like to sleep in my own bed. I like to sit on my own toilet. And I feel free. I feel that's the adventure. So adventure is a desire of mine, freedom, feeling satisfied. I think that comes into the work I do, working with clients. I want to feel satisfied, and I do when I work with people. I do these videos, it feels satisfying. There's a desire in me to share what I've learned over the last decades that I've been doing this, from my own journey, from my own experiences, from working with people. How can I share? So fanning the flame of what you desire. I desire, because I think a lot of people like complaining. They like complaining or pointing fingers and seeing others as, I call them demonizing others. When you idealize people or you demonize them. And I think that's very much a throwback from this black and white, good, you're either good or bad. But all of us are good and bad. We're all of that. We don't all act perfectly. We have got these traits of, maybe jealousy is a trait of yours. For me, it's stubborn, arrogant, pig-headed. I can be very stubborn. That's my personality type. But other people, it could be judgmental or jealous or, things like that. So their traits are more down like that, as opposed to mine, which is stubborn and arrogant, pig-headed. Now, as I learned about my own traits, I started to embrace them, that stubborn part of me, because sometimes stubborn didn't work. It made me put my foot down and I felt like an immovable, we all know people like that. They're not easy to be with or to work with. It's like, nah, I'm right, you're wrong. All of that. I had to be winner, chicken dinner and all that. And it didn't work for me. I'd cut my nose to spite my face. And I realized that, but I don't want to get rid of that. I want to embrace that, because actually the good part of stubbornness is that I'm very determined. I studied for 10 years all up. Now, it was that stubborn determination that kept me going. Maybe some people would have given up, but no, I stubbornly, and I will stick with something. So stubbornness isn't always a negative, just like kindness isn't always a good thing, because it can have too much kindness, can make you feel weak, passive, and people walk all over you. So every good trait can have some negativity about it, and some negative traits can have positivity about it. And I realized that actually I turned my stubbornness into determination, tenacity, commitment, and those things definitely worked for me. So knowing thyself is the key. If you want to stop being subtly emotionally abused by others, then come back to you. Stop looking at them, blaming them, because that's the trouble. We like kind of pointing fingers because we don't have to do anything about it then. Well, no, if they were different, no, if they changed, no. And I'm like, no, come back to you. 1 finger forward, 3 back, come back to you. Come back to you and learn about you, so that you don't have to keep putting up with people that disrespect you, that don't listen to you, that don't understand you, that don't consider you. You see, we have to understand ourselves, consider ourselves, know ourselves. I know me, and I know me. Last week we talked about, when you in the shopping mall and someone asks you to come over here and look at this, and that's been ongoing. It's got easier. I'm much better at saying no, but now I just won't even go over there, go no thank you, and I just walk on past, because they want to kind of get you in, and I feel like, oh no, if I go over there, because I'm like, I am empathic, I am kind, and I do quite soft-hearted, and I want to give, but you know what, I can't give to all these people. I don't want to give to all these people. I don't want to give. I don't want to say yes when I mean no. End up resentful and end up feeling crap about myself because I didn't have the courage or the assertiveness to actually, no, thank you, not today. Thank you. And they're really good, some of them. It's like, no, come on over. And I'm like, nah. And they'll get you over with, oh, I want to give you this. Okay, thank you very much. Off I go. I'm like, no. I know I can't do that to myself. I know that I will suffer and struggle if I do that to myself. So, are we willing, I suppose this is the question I want to pose to you, are you willing to let go of pointing fingers and blaming somebody else for them being emotionally, subtly abusive, and come back to you and do your work? Because that's something you can do something about. And I'm all about empowering people. Because when you point fingers, you are a victim and you are disempowering yourself. And that doesn't make you feel good. And that nothing changes when you're doing that. So we can point the fingers all we like till we start coming back to us, doing our work. And I get it. I get why people don't want to do it. But hey, if you're listening to this and maybe you are struggling and you're done struggling and you feel like, you know what? this isn't working for me. Maybe I need to try something different. What have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? And I encourage people, you know, here's fear. You know, you've got to turn around and face that fear. And a lot of the time it is just false evidence of being real. And a lot of the time, I think this is the one thing I think people think, well, when I said to you about what they say is, well, what's going to come up? And because at the basis of all fear is I won't cope. And the fact is you have coped. You're here today. You've coped with everything you've ever been through. But if fear has been, you know, chasing you for many years, then yeah, it's going to be a struggle. But initially, that initial courage, and I liken it to, you know, when you jump into a very cold swimming pool or, you know, a lake or whatever it is, and it just takes one tiny little bit of courage to kind of push yourself off the side and jump in. And sometimes that's all the courage and then the amount of people that I work with that have gone, and usually, I've got to say, usually the catalyst for them coming in as something has happened and they are just on the floor. And so that will often, the fear of staying where you are is greater than the fear of walking towards something different and new. And sometimes that will be a catalyst. But you only need a little bit of courage to say, you know what, I'm done, I'm going to do it. What's the worst thing that can happen? You know, and it takes courage. So be courageous. You know, we're ending one year, and I think sometimes the end of a year, it's like, you know what, do I want to keep living this way? Do I want to take this into the new year? All the pain, all the suffering, all the resentment, all the baggage that I've still got, all the pain that keeps getting triggered all the time. It's a new year. Maybe, and I think that can be quite a hopeful thing. It's like, no, I'm going to hope. And you know what? What happens? You will cope. You will cope. And I know when I started facing my fears and looking them square in the face, guess what? That fear reduced. And I felt stronger, better, more effective in my life. It grew my confidence in such a great way. And now I feel like, you know what? There'll always be things that scare me. There'll always be fears. But you know what? I know I'll cope. So I'm going to look them straight in the eye and I'm going to deal with it head on. I'm going to lean into it, even though I might not like it. Because what's the alternative? Anyway, I think I'll leave it there for now. And just to say, if you've got to the end of the video, I realise there's a little button top right. If you click on it, you can actually speed the video up. And I should have said this at the beginning, shouldn't I? But I actually watched videos 1.25, 1.5. And some people just don't talk fast enough for me because I'm a pretty fast talker. So if you want to speed it up and not have to sit through the whole 22 minutes, if you do it times and a half, it will cut the time of the video down. Anyway, I must remember to say that at the beginning next time. All for now. I'll catch you next time. Please like, subscribe, share this with someone that you think might be interested in it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.